What were the things, I guess, early on then stroked your curiosity? That's kind of what I was going, was it books? Was it movies? Was it a cool uncle? I always go kind of that example.
Yeah. So my mom moved to Oregon when I was 13. I went with her. I was completely depressed the first year in Oregon. It was just like, I was just like, what is this place? It was always raining. It was, I wasn't used to that. So I went through this year of like really deep depression. And then the next year I started listening to like The Doors and other classic rock. And I started just reading kind of like, well, actually, The Doors was kind of like my pathway. Started reading about like shamanism and just my mind just kind of started expanding from there. You know, moving in all kinds of different. I was really influenced by like 60s, 70s culture for a long time. And so you asked like, what is my influence?
Oh, just curiosity. Curiosity is really the biggest thing that I'm interested in. Like, what made you curious like early on? What were the things that got you like zesty about things? You know,
I was really interested in this idea of becoming the Lizard King because of Jim Morrison.
just
that was like the earliest seed of like being, I don't know, and then again, starting to experiment with like psychedelics and alternative states of consciousness, getting into like meditation, and finally ended up going to an alternative high school where the head of the school, his two favorite authors were Bucky Fuller, who I know you're into, and Ken Wilber. Like those were his two biggest influences, and so you can imagine what that high school was like.
And those are two kind of disparate, but they're similar paths for sure. In a different way.
Different way, but kind of similar vibe of like. Deep history, big think.
Yep.
Trajectory of humankind. Sure. So later in high school, that kind of stuff became very influential.
Yeah. Buckminster Fuller is one of our biggest influences. Stuff. It's crazy.
I think I've heard that before.
So then let's take us through kind of your academic background. So you go through to Colorado, New Mexico, Oregon, and then you went to the University of New Mexico, I believe. Okay, and then take us like from there on to here now.
Yeah, so I got to college and I had been inundated with these ideas from this high school, and I spent like 2 or 3 years just kind of bouncing around, like taking different courses. I think, in retrospect, I was like a generalist and I was trying to find some kind of specialty, and I ended up with a degree in economics just because I thought, okay, well, they deal with like a lot of different like broad scale issues. It seemed like a kind of a generalist type of path. But then I kind of became a little bit disenchanted, I think, with economics. And so I got into geography, got my master's in geography. And then, I bounced around again, worked for a, defense contractor for a while.
Hey, wow. Did not know that. Okay, Jason.
Yeah. Then we went back to Oregon. My wife went to get her master's, and then Michigan. That's where I got my PhD.
Yep.
And then we came here.
So talk us about your PhD and how that was kind of different than, again, alternative high school, college, economics. You go to do geography, and then now it's like this is a pinnacle kind of thing of research. Like what was it, and then kind of bring us through that.
So I kind of had this love-hate relationship with the field of economics. I remember talking with a good friend who was doing economics before, and we were talking about like all of the problems with like the paradigm, with the assumptions that go into it, and I was just like, well, screw it, like I'm just gonna bite the bullet, because it still seemed like, okay, I want to learn some skills, I want to learn how to like mess with data, learn some mathematics, things like that. So I went in that direction, looking for like, there was like a good international kind of development type program there, and food systems is kind of the direction I went into. So I ended up spending doing my research in Tanzania, looking at like food systems, like post-farm food systems. And that was all fine. It took me 7 years to do that.
I was about to say, like PhDs are, it's very variable on how long this takes.
Yeah, but then, especially near the end and into my postdoc, I started getting active on Twitter and, kind of, I think, reigniting a lot of the ideas that I had when I was younger. A lot of the same threads, like integral, meta-modern type stuff. And, I think I just slowly became disenchanted again with economics.
A second disenchantment.
And just kind of the paradigm that they operate from, and the kind of, I'd been basically trained as a technocrat. And it's kind of like a progressive neoliberal technocrat is basically, I think it, with good intentions, but yeah, in the last few years, I just basically decided, I don't think I'm going to really pursue this track unless I need to make money. But we ended up here. My wife, got her PhD at the same time.
Yep.
She got a position here, and it was an opportunity for me to both be, next adjacent to an apartment that I feel like more aligns with my values. So it's focused on like sustainability, and it's much more critical of kind of mainstream development, and so that kind of fit in, so that clicked in, and then getting more interested in kind of taking more seriously kind of our climate ecological situation, and what does that mean for like rethinking everything. Right. It's not just I think before it was more compartmentalized for a while, and so it was like, oh, that's that thing over there, and people like Joe Brewer was really influential, and just like, okay, actually, what would it mean to like center some of these things, and pair that with deep history and the evolution of consciousness, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm in a position now where I can just kind of like teach, and kind of have very kind of interesting, broad-ranging conversations with students. Landed here in a position where I can like start to learn how to grow food, practice agroecology or permaculture. And so it just this is kind of what clicked into place.
That's great. It seems like there was a long time coming, and then all of a sudden now you feel like you're kind of at home, or feeling
there.
Good.
Getting there. I see the trajectory, right? Because we're still new here. COVID has been difficult in terms of meeting people, developing kind of the localist type of community that I talk about a lot on Twitter. But this seems like a good place to like, okay, now we're going to settle down and we're going to like build from the ground up. This seemed like, okay, now we're both in a life situation where we can kind of do that.